Buck was a large, strong dog who lived with a kind family in sunny California. His owner, Judge Miller, treated him like a prince. He had a warm bed, delicious food, and even children who loved to play with him. Buck spent his days running around the big yard, feeling safe and happy. But everything changed one cold winter day when a stranger took him away. Buck was stolen and sold far from his home into a cold, harsh world he had never known. Buck was thrown onto a ship that sailed across cold waters to a place called the Yukon. The ship's crew was rough, and they treated Buck cruelly. He was taken to a man named Perot, who used dogs to pull heavy sleds in the freezing snow. Buck had never seen snow before, and he shivered in the cold. He was put in a cage, hungry and confused, not knowing what to do or where he was. Buck soon learned the rules of this harsh world. He had to fight for food, sleep in the snow, and never back down from a challenge. His paws hurt from the cold ground, and his fur grew thicker to protect him from the freezing winds. Every day, Buck worked harder and became stronger. The sled team grew to depend on him, but he always knew he had to be careful. This was a world where only the strong survived. Buck felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders as the lead dog on the sled team. It wasn't easy. The men shouted and cracked their whips, forcing the dogs to run faster and faster through the snow. Buck led the pack, his heart racing with each mile. But Buck wasn't just any dog, he was special. He had a deep, burning desire to be the strongest. The more he led, the more he realized that he wasn't just following orders, he was becoming the leader of his own destiny. As Buck's strength grew, so did his sense of something deeper inside him. It was a call, a pull toward something bigger, something wild. He began to dream of wide-open spaces, running free with the wind in his fur. The call of the wild whispered in his heart. Each night, the forest seemed to call to him. He felt drawn to the deep, dark woods, but he wasn't sure what the call meant. He only knew that it was something he could never ignore. One evening, as Buck rested near a campfire, he heard a strange sound, a howl that made his heart race. It was a wolf calling out in the distance. Buck stood up and looked toward the dark trees. For the first time, he felt a deep connection to the wild animal. That night, he dreamed of wolves running through the forest, hunting together, wild and free. The dreams came more often, and Buck's heart longed to run with them. Buck's life changed the day he met John Thornton. John was a kind man who treated Buck with love and care, unlike the harsh men he had known before. John fed Buck better food, and his gentle voice calmed the dog's heart. Buck felt safe for the first time in a long while. John was everything Buck had been looking for in a friend. He wasn't just a master, he was someone who understood Buck, someone who saw him as more than just a sled dog. As Buck grew closer to John, the call of the wild became stronger than ever. He could feel it in his bones. The forest was calling him, pulling him away from the life he knew. Buck loved John, but a part of him needed to be free. He needed to answer the call of the wild. John tried to keep him close, but Buck knew he could never stay forever. Deep down, Buck understood that his journey was only beginning. One day, a wild bear attacked the camp. John stood beside Buck as the bear charged. Without thinking, Buck leaped into action, tackling the bear with all his might. The fight was fierce, but Buck's wild instincts took over. With one final blow, Buck and John defeated the bear. It was the moment Buck truly understood his strength. He had become the wild creature he had always dreamed of. Buck's bond with John grew stronger, but the call of the wild could not be ignored. Every day, Buck ventured deeper into the forest, running alongside wolves and feeling the wind on his fur. He knew that it was time for him to become something more. The wild was waiting for him, and Buck could no longer resist its pull. That night, Buck answered the call. He followed the wolves into the forest, and for the first time, he felt like he truly belonged. The wolves welcomed him into their pack. Buck ran with them, leading the pack with strength and wisdom. He had become the leader he was always meant to be, stronger than ever before, with the wild flowing through his veins. As the leader of the wolf pack, Buck faced challenges every day. There were dangers in the wild, other animals, fierce storms, and the constant struggle for food. But Buck was ready. He had been tested by the harsh world, and now he was the one who tested others. Every fight, every challenge made him stronger, made him more connected to the wild. Buck led his pack into deeper parts of the forest. The trees grew taller, the shadows darker, and the air filled with the scent of wild creatures. Buck felt alive in the wilderness, surrounded by the sights and sounds of the untamed world. He was no longer just a dog. He was a creature of the wild, free and powerful. One day, Buck had to make a tough decision. The pack was hungry, and a large, dangerous moose was grazing nearby. The pack wanted to hunt it, but Buck knew the risk. He had to protect them from danger, even if it meant going hungry himself. With wisdom beyond his years, Buck led the pack in a different direction, choosing survival over danger. As the seasons changed, Buck felt his age. He had led his pack through countless challenges, and his strength had grown. But now, the wild was calling him once more. It was time to leave the pack and follow the path that had always been meant for him. Buck walked deeper into the forest alone. He felt the call of the wild in his heart as he ran with the wolves. He howled at the moon, a sound that echoed through the trees. For the first time, Buck was truly free. Buck's legend lived on in the wilderness. He was remembered as the wild dog who led wolves, who became one with the wild. His story was told around campfires, and every animal knew the name of Buck. He had found his place in the wild, a place where he would never be forgotten. As the years passed, the forest flourished. Buck had answered the call of the wild, and now he was a part of it forever. He ran free, leading wolves and feeling the earth beneath his paws. The wild was his home, and he had finally found where he truly belonged.